Okay, this is Business 342 Workbook Lecture page number 79. Okay, and we're talking about the security market line to top it off. It shows you a graph of that. It says the slope of the security market line is equal to the market risk premium. Okay, so remember the market risk premium, if you drew a line right across there, that should be level. That's the risk-free rate all the way across. Okay, here's the expected return on the market minus the risk-free premium. Okay, so that gives you your expected return. You can see as your beta goes up, you get more market risk premium, which makes sense. The higher your beta, the higher your risk reward. So the reward for bearing an average amount of systematic risk, remember systematic risk is 1. The equation described as, and I don't know why they put B1 over here when they wrote this out this way. It's been shown the other way the whole time and I prefer it the other way. So remember, the expected return on an asset equals the return on a risk-free asset plus, and this is called the market risk premium right here, this section from here to here, this is the market risk premium, which is the expected return on the market minus the risk-free rate, and that makes sense. Whatever you expect to return on the market minus whatever the risk-free rate is gives you the market risk premium times beta. Remember, beta is the relative amount of risk compared to the overall market. Beta of 1 is the market average. So if you're at 2, you're double the risk of the market. For systematic risk, remember, beta just measures systematic risk. Standard deviation measures overall risk. Standard deviation has to do with systematic and unsystematic. But you can diversify unsystematic risk. So the market only rewards you for systematic risk, which is beta. That's why the expected return on this asset, you multiply it times beta, not times the standard deviation. Okay, and times standard deviation. So if you have a beta of 0.5, which means you have lower than the overall market risk, then your risk premium times the beta would add up to less, and you'd have a lower overall expected return. This is also represents the capital asset pricing model, which is your pricing the capital asset. Okay, so using this SLM or this, the line or the CAPM, same thing for security selection. Given the RF, which is the return on a risk-free asset, the ERM, which is the expected return on market assets. Remember that on the market, expected return on the market. That's what M stands for. And beta, remember the beta is the relative systematic risk of an asset or a portfolio. You can use the CAPM to find the required expected rate of return for a given asset. Okay, the forecasted return of an asset is usually based on an analyst research or something. If the forecasted return is more than the required rate of return from using the CAPM, the capital asset pricing model, then the stock is considered undervalued, which means if they're forecasting something's going to come in at 25 bucks and the expected return is 20, then it means that obviously it's underpriced using this model, so you need to buy it. Consequently, if the forecasted return is less than what the model says it should price out at, then you should sell it because it's overpriced. So they give you a problem here. The forecasted price of a stock in 1 year is $65 and the firm expects to pay a dividend of $1. The current market price is 60 bucks. The risk-free rate is 5%. The market risk premium, remember this isn't the expected return on the market, this is the market risk premium, which is this part of that equation. Expected return of the market minus the risk-free rate is the market risk premium, is 10%, and the stock's beta is 0.7. Calculate the required return according to the SLM or the CAPM, however you want to state it, and determine whether the stock is over or undervalued. Okay, so the forecasted return, you take what the price will be minus the current price, and you have to add the $1 dividend, because this is what your return is going to be, which is $6 over 60, which is what you had invested, or what the current price is. So the next year it'll go up 10%. The required return, which you use the CAPM or the SLM, however you want to state it, is the expected return on the asset equals the risk-free rate plus the market risk premium, which is the expected return on the market minus the risk-free rate, times the beta of that asset. Well, they give you these numbers. They just end up giving you the market risk premium instead of the expected return rate. So you know that this is 10. You know the risk-free rate was 5. So the expected return for the market was actually 15 in this case. But you don't need to know. They gave you this anyway, so you just plug this into this, getting rid of those two terms. So 5 plus, you got to do 10 by the 0.7 first. So 5 plus 7 equals 12%. So if it's forecasting that you're going to get a 10% return, which is lower than the required return based on the capital asset pricing model, that means that this stock is overpriced at 65, it's overvalued, and you should sell it. Because the required return is 12%, and you're only going to get 10%. So it's overpriced and you need to sell it. Okay, so that's page 79, the last page of this section of the workbook, Business 342.